Title: On New Year's Eve, my uncle arrived unexpectedly and asked, "How's that $2.5 million trust fund I set up for you 5 years ago?" I stared in shock. What trust fund? I've been working 3 jobs just to survive. Start. My uncle arrived just after dusk, unannounced, uninvited, and with that quiet force he carried like a storm walking on 2 legs. He stepped through the doorway while my parents were still arguing in the kitchen. I heard the floorboards groan under his weight before I heard his voice. "How's that $2.5 million trust fund I set up for you 5 years ago?" That sentence, it split the air open. I looked up from the bowl of instant noodles I'd been stretching into a third meal. "What trust fund?" I asked, not even standing. "I've been working 3 jobs just to breathe." His gaze didn't move. It slammed into me, then slid past me like the barrel of a gun shifting targets. My parents went still. Their faces drained. They knew. And that was the moment my uncle revealed 2 things. One, he had created a 2.5M trust fund intended for me alone. 2, and the man I called my father wasn't. The room hollowed out around me. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my family, cracked like thin ice under a heavy step. I grew up believing loyalty was our household's only currency. My mother used to say, "Family saves you when the world won't." Funny how lies can wear the shape of comfort. I trusted them, even when nothing added up, like why we always lived paycheck to paycheck, why they refused to let me handle my own documents, why they pushed me into work right after high school instead of college, insisting we couldn't afford it. I clung to gratitude, even as exhaustion gnawed at me. I should have listened to the instincts I kept killing inside myself. Those small moments when my father looked away from me too quickly, when my mother panicked anytime the mail came, when they fought behind closed doors about keeping things buried. But back then, I was naive, hopeful, too busy surviving to question the shape of the cage around me. My uncle's voice was calm, too calm, when he asked my parents why I didn't have access to the trust. My mother started crying. My father's jaw locked so tight he could have shattered his own teeth. Then my uncle said something that tore the last layer of my old life away. "I know he's not your son. But stealing from him, using him, that's a different kind of evil." Silence detonated across the room. I didn't speak. I didn't ask. I just watched their faces deform under the weight of truth. My mother confessed first. She told me my biological father was a man she'd been seeing before she met the man I grew up calling Dad. That my uncle was the only one who knew the full story. That the trust was her promise to me to someday reveal my real father and give me the future she thought she'd destroyed. But greed is louder than guilt, and desperation is hungrier than love. They took the money, every payment, every year. They spent it to fix debts I never created. I felt the betrayal lodge itself in my ribs like a blade that refused to pull free. By the time the shock drained out of me, only one emotion remained: control. Cold, focused control. I didn't scream, I didn't break anything, I simply told my uncle, "Give me time." He nodded, because he knew my silence was not forgiveness. For months, I studied the trust agreement he'd kept copies of. I analyzed bank statements my parents thought they'd erased. I dug through old mail, digital scraps, accounting errors. Every lie had a paper trail, and I traced it like a hunter following blood in the snow. I saved recordings. I collected signatures. I filed for access to my real birth certificate. I found my biological father, alive, stable, and completely unaware I existed, and he wanted to know me. But revenge first, healing later. I crafted a plan that didn't just expose my parents, it forced them to confront the truth with no shadows left to hide inside. It started with a letter. A certified envelope delivered to our house, addressed to both of them. Inside, copies of the financial documents I'd gathered, evidence of the withdrawals, a summary of the trust, a legal notice stating the next steps. My mother fainted after the first paragraph. My father cursed so hard his voice cracked. I didn't go inside. I watched from my car as the walls closed around them. Next came the attorney, a real one, paid for not with my money, but with the extra hours I'd worked for years. The poetic sting wasn't lost on me. We filed civil charges, misappropriation of funds, fraud, financial abuse. Then came the family gathering. My uncle arranged it. My parents thought it was to talk things through. No, it was an ambush of truth. My biological father was there. So were extended relatives, everyone who'd believed the lie of our perfect family. I spoke last. I told them how I'd lived, how I'd worked while a fortune meant for me was siphoned away, how my parents stole not just money, but years, opportunities, security. My father tried to interrupt. My mother begged. I didn't break. I didn't soften. You didn't just steal a trust fund, I said. You stole the version of me that trusted you, and that's something you'll never get back. The room swallowed their shame. The lawsuit went public within weeks. Family turned their backs. Debts came crashing down. My father lost his job. My mother's siblings cut her off completely. Their house was seized 6 months later. Meanwhile, the trust, reinstated, restored, and legally protected, was transferred under my sole control. My biological father asked if I'd allow him into my life. I said yes, not because I needed a father, but because he deserved a chance I never got to give the people who raised me. Some nights I lie awake thinking about the moment my uncle asked that question, the one that detonated everything. How's that $2.5 million trust fund? I almost laugh now at how casually he said it. But what followed was not casual. It was deliberate, measured, mine. Justice tasted nothing like rage. It tasted like freedom, quiet, sharp, cold. Exactly the way I like it.